Ved Pranam Mantra. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Today we will cover Saraswati Sukta from Rig Veda, 6th book, and hymn number 61, 661. Now, Saraswati, as far as goddess is concerned, well, I have personal connections in various forms. Like Sri Ramakrishna used to say, Thakur Sri Ramakrishna used to say that Saraswati, mother, this goddess of words, goddess of knowledge, if one ray, just one ray of her touches someone, he becomes a great scholar. And I was fascinated by this comment, these simple words from Sri Ramakrishna. And then later, Sri Ramakrishna used to say about Mother Sarada Devi that she is Saraswati. She has come to impart knowledge. Such a wonderful statement. And when I first started studying, as we shall see, that in India, it's customary that when a baby learns first alphabets, Vidyarambha, it is with the worship of Saraswati. And when my own education began with a prayer to Mother Saraswati. Even today, whenever I am delivering any talks, giving any lectures, I always pray to Mother Saraswati, always. It has become a habit for me. It doesn't matter what mantra you take up, any of those mantras, and there are hundreds of mantras on Mother Saraswati. Those of you who are familiar with the life of Swami Vivekananda would know that when Swami Vivekananda had gone to World Parliament of Religions at Chicago, he was repeatedly asked by the chairman to get up and speak, and he was feeling nervous. He didn't want to speak. And ultimately, when he was said that only a few speakers are left, and if you don't speak, you will have to drop the idea. Then Swamiji prayed to Mother Saraswati, and he got up. And rest is history. Sisters and brothers of America. So, Mother Saraswati, the goddess is not the right word for me because I treat Saraswati as my mother. Yeah, and truly and genuinely, I treat Mother Saraswati as mother, my real mother. So it is in the fitness of things that we do one sukta on Mother Saraswati. And I'll request my listeners, I should pay special attention to the worship of Saraswati. If possible, get a picture of Mother Saraswati and place it in your house on one of the walls where you study. And persuade your children who are in schools or colleges to keep one photograph of Mother Saraswati. It is inherent in Indian culture. You may or may not worship Mother Lakshmi, but every Hindu has to worship Mother Saraswati because Hindu religion, Hindu culture, Hindu race stands for knowledge, both spiritual and worldly. And Mother Saraswati gives both. And that's why. If you don't have a picture, try to get one from the market. And now with Google there, you can order it online. You should keep Mother Saraswati. She is our mother. According to Vedanta, the ultimate reality appears as one of the three: Sat Chit Anand, existence, knowledge, bliss. It's very unfortunate that most of us are trying to be one with Atman, trying to be one with Brahman through Sat and through Anand. Sat is existence. You don't want to die. You want to hold on to life. You want to hold on to your securities. You are feeling threatened all the time. You have nervousness. You have panic attack. You have depressions. Essentially, whatever problem you are scared of illness. You are scared of death. You are scared of losing someone. It all shows that somewhere you want to reach Brahman through the aspect of Sat, existence. And secondly, we are trying to reach consciousness, that pure consciousness, absolute consciousness, Brahman, through Ananda, through joy. And that's why we want joy in life. We are chasing joy. Since our childhood and until death, people want to be with their loved ones. People want to have this enjoyment, that enjoyment. Why? Because you want you want to be one with your nature. Being with your nature means being with Atman through Ananda. Rarely will you come across someone who wants to be one with one's nature, his or hers, through Chit, Chaitanya, knowledge. If only you try to be one with Atman through Chaitanya, life will become so much simpler. What do you have to do for that? Take up any form of knowledge, any form of Vidya, be it singing, be it dancing, be it painting, be it physics, chemistry, biology, any, and dedicate yourself. Just, just remember that your goal in life is to be with your nature, to realize your true nature, Atman. Our great sages like Aryabhatta and Varahmir, they were all dedicated to knowledge. It was through knowledge that they were trying to realize Atman. Give up your fears. Give up your insecurities. Give up your desire to chase happiness. Focus on one, that is knowledge. The self, the self-revealing knowledge, which is known as Chaitanya. Self-revealing knowledge, actually, whatever thoughts we have, thoughts are self-revealing. And they are self-revealing because there is consciousness behind it. Consciousness being the substratum, knowledge reveals itself. The thoughts reveal by themselves. And I personally believe that that is the easiest way to self-realization. And where does it come from? Mother Saraswati. Who is Mother Saraswati? She is one with Brahman. In this world, she appears as knowledge. So this is a unusual concept given by our sages. So wonderful, so majestic, so beautiful, so sublime. Try it for 3 days, try it for 7 days, try it for 30 days. And you will feel so uplifted, you will feel so elevated, you will feel so full of joy. Give yourself totally to knowledge, give yourself completely to Vidya, and see how your personality changes. As we mentioned, Mother Saraswati is universally worshipped by the Hindus. And if you look at it etymologically, Saraswati means both water and speech, surprisingly. And when we talk about Saraswati, we talk in both ways. And that's how we have this famous Saraswati, which is said to be lost. And there are many researches going on. Once I wanted to write a wonderful book on a book titled The Lost Children of Saraswati. We, the Hindus, we are the lost children of Saraswati. It had a double meaning. Saraswati is lost, and we are the lost children. We have forgotten what it means to dedicate oneself to knowledge. Maybe I may take up this subject, so fascinating to me. How we have degraded ourselves. We have degraded simply because we have stopped being worshippers of Mother Saraswati. Forget Vedanta, forget Advaita Vedanta. Be worshippers of Mother Saraswati. Everything will be taken care of. You want wealth, you will get wealth, as we shall see. You want fame, you will get fame. And most importantly, you want liberation, you will get liberation. Just understand what is being said in this sukta. Discuss it, talk about it, make the ideas, broadcast. Change your life, persuade others to change their lives. It is said that according to the scholars that the word Saraswati has been viewed variously. One is waters that purify. As you know that Ganga water, we use Ganga water for purifying. So Saraswati was used as waters for purifying. And in general, that which purifies. And because it becomes the general that which purifies, it becomes walk, speech that purifies. Speech is the greatest purifier. If you say Om and everything gets purified. And Sanskrit, the word Sanskrit itself means refined speech. You know a person by that person's speech. What kind of words he uses, what kind of expressions he uses. By he, I mean she too. And then it moved over to knowledge that purifies. Essentially, there is no difference between knowledge and words because knowledge and speech, because there's a common word for that. In the Greeks used logos for that, and we use shabda. Shabda means both words and shabda means knowledge. So it can be used both ways. And finally, we have the goddess that embodies knowledge. In this sukta, that is the sukta that we use in Veda Vihangam, sukta means hymn. I deliberately took up this particular hymn because here we find that Saraswati has been used in all of these senses. It's a beautiful thing. However, in the book Veda Vihangam, and the book that I have been referring to, this book Veda Vihangam, we have added one or two extra mantras just to give idea of what Saraswati is about. In Rig Veda, the first book, there is one mantra, Maho Arna Saraswati Prachetayati Ketuna Dhyo Vishwa Virajati. As you can see, the language used is different from the popular Sanskrit that we have today. It means Saraswati. Saraswati, the mighty ocean. Maho Arnaha. She's the knowledge, she's the ocean of knowledge. Illumines with her light. She brightens every intellect. Imagine this idea had come way back in the Vedas, and we have forgotten. How unfortunate. I shouldn't be saying this, but then somehow this topic, Mother Saraswati, it excites me. Personally, I feel so bonded with Mother Saraswati. Emotionally, I mean. I feel so excited. Every intellect is brightened by Mother Saraswati. And we, the children of Saraswati, have forgotten that. In Bengal, Saraswati Puja is still extremely popular. And yet mostly it is about fancy dress parade. I was in Devghar, and as the luck would have been, I had the chance of looking at Saraswati Puja at various places when I was pretty young. How degenerated the whole thing has become. It's a picnic time, it's party time for students. How sad. Dear listeners, change it for yourself and be the center of change for others. Let others be the lost children. You don't be the lost children. You be the lost and found. and start the cultural revolution. Bring back Mother Saraswati in your hearts. Bring back your Mother Saraswati in your home. Bring back Mother Saraswati in your locality. It's imperative. It's urgent. Then there is one mantra which has come practically in every Ved, Rig Ved and Atharva and Yajuḥ Ved. Yaste stana shashayo yo mayo bhuyena vishwa pushyasi varyani. Those of you who have book, you can see that mantra. And there is Mrs. Momita Kundu. She stays in London and she types all the mantras and you'll find them in the chat. Mantras and also the transliteration. Yo ratnadha vasuvidya sudatra saraswati tamiha dhatave kaha. Saraswati, that abundant breast of yours, Mother Saraswati, abundant breasts, the source of well-being with which you nourish the world, the receptacle of treasure, wealth, and fortune. You lay that bare now for us. This is very interesting because this Yastestana Shashayo, the breasts, the abundant breasts of goddess. This is used for Mother Durga also, very surprisingly. The slight difference is in case of Mother Durga, she is the mother of the universe. So she is the source of nourishment and sustenance, basic sustenance for everyone in this world. How best to depict it? Abundant breasts. Now, in case of Mother Saraswati, this is such a beautiful mantra because it says that, oh Mother Saraswati, nourish us with your abundant breasts. So you are not nourished by food. We have this wonderful expression in India, ahar, nidra, maithun. Eat, sleep, mate. No, that doesn't nourish you. Nourishment comes only through knowledge. Because if you have knowledge, you have power. If you have knowledge, you have wealth. But most importantly, if you have knowledge, you become free. And if you are free, you become confident, you become strong. Everything that you want in life, what exactly you want in life, those of you who might have read my book, Carving a Sky, you know, it's about space. It's about freedom. It's about strength. How do you get all this? Through knowledge. Those of you who are familiar with the Indian social setup would know that in India we had 4 varnas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. It was more like guild because certain type of work were clubbed together, and the idea was that if you belong to this kind of subset, you can do this kind of worship, you can do this kind of spiritual practices, and from there slowly these things became fossilized. And fossilized is not the right word, I would say crystallized, and the spiritual aspect was forgotten, the social aspect was retained, and now it's just a political tool. But even if you keep these 4 varnas in your mind, you will see that what is important today? The entire work of the Shudras, that means labor, has been taken up by the machines. You don't need Shudras as the work guild anymore, as the guild anymore. Sorry. All over the world, every manual work, starting from scavenging to everything, it has been taken over by the machines. Business. A few years ago, who would have believed that you can order online and you can get things delivered at home? Unthinkable. There used to be fairy wallas, and there used to be vegetable vendors who would come and shriek in your locality and saying that vegetables this price, but not everything. Now you can order anything you want. That means ultimately it is being ruled by those who have knowledge. Same with Kshatriya work. Wars are being fought by those who have knowledge, those who have technology. The entire social setup has been completely taken over by Mother Saraswati. Every other god and every other goddess has finally become subservient to Saraswati. Now, if India doesn't start worshipping Saraswati in letter and in spirit, we are doomed. Europe and America went one step ahead simply because in spirit they were worshipping Saraswati. One who had knowledge, he was advanced. Those who didn't have knowledge were treated as brutes. We survived. We didn't have that knowledge we didn't have that knowledge that could match, say, the Europeans. Yet we succeeded in managing some respect and some self-respect. Now it's time to stand up. Now it's time to wake up. Wake up and wake up the goddess that is within us. And pray to her. Yaste stana shashayo yo mayo bhuyena vishwa. Pushyasi varyani. Oh goddess, bear your abundant breast for me. And what will that provide? It says treasure, wealth, and fame. What else you want? Knowledge. It is vidya. It's always paravidya and aparavidya. Treasure, wealth, and fame. All these things belong to aparavidya. And paravidya takes you to spiritual realization. That is also Mother Saraswati. That's the meaning of this mantra. It comes in Rig Veda 1:164 and Atharva Veda also and Yajuḥ Veda also. So that was a very brief introduction to prayer to Saraswati. And from there we move on to our main sukta, that is 661 of Rig Veda. Rishi is Bharadwaj, who is son of Brihaspati. Bharadwaj is a great saint, and we find the mention of this saint even in Valmiki Ramayana and Mahabharata. And we have Bharadwaj go through too. And Devata is Saraswati. As I mentioned, Saraswati is both the river and the speech. And in this sukta, you find that it's swinging between the river and goddess of speech. This is one of those esoteric hymns. Esoteric hymns mean it appears like something, but actually it's something else. And surprisingly, the way it appears, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, if you want, you can interpret it that way. However, its real significance lies in its inner meanings. Yam adadat rabasam arinachitam divodasam vadni. Vadri ashwaya dasuse. Ya shaswantam achakhada avasam paning tate datrani tavisa Saraswati. There is a story about this mentions a very ancient traditional story about a king Divodas. If you Google it, you will find the story of Divodas. And there was one Vardhayashwa. Vardhayashwa is mentioned, he was son of Divodas. Says, Mother Saraswati gave all speed and acquitted him of all debt. And she destroyed the horror, self-centered Pani. We'll come back to explaining these terms. And great are your bounties, Saraswati. Saraswati is being praised as one one who freed Vardhayeshwar, was son of Devodas. And she also destroyed Pani. Pani are the self-centered, you can say, demonic powers. Says there was one sage, Vadrayeshwar, and according to the story, he fell under mortal rape. And later, Vardhayeshwar was son of Devodas. His son was Devodas. Sorry, not Devodas' son of Devodas. Now, Devodas, he worshipped Mother Saraswati, and as he worshipped Mother Saraswati, he kind of became a king, very successful king, and he got all the riches. And he could free his father, Vardhayeshwar, and said that he was the brother-in-law, it says brother-in-law of King Dashratha, whose son was Sri Rama. Very difficult to say whether this Devodas and that Devodas are same, but generally it's mentioned in case of ancient stories. So there was a Vardhayeshwar, who was a sage, and he had son Devodas. Now, Devodas became successful, became a king, and freed his father from his debts by worshipping Mother Saraswati. Then there is one story about Pani. This story of Pani is a very interesting thing in the Ved, because here we find that Pani literally means those who are self-centered ones, and says that they were some kind of robbers, and or maybe some kind of dark forces. And they stole the cows of the sages, that included Angirasa. And then Angirasa performed great yajnas to get his cows back. And then Indra intervened, and the robbers were vanquished, and the cows were returned. Apparently, it appears to be a very good story, because there is a sage and loses his cows, and cows being a very valuable property for the sages, the poor Brahmins, and performing yajna and puja, etc., etc. But then this becomes more like a childish story, where you find that there is somebody who loses something, and then there is some intervention. So childish. No, the Vedas are not about such childish stories. The Vedas are not about fairy tales. Those of you who are familiar with the spiritual traditions of India can understand that it actually represents a deep mystical spiritual truth. The word here in the story is about go. Go is cow, but go also means the senses. Essentially, it means that a spiritual aspirant, a sage, he lets his senses go astray. Where? In the world of Ahar, Nidra, Maithun, which I mentioned. In seeking pleasures. Sorry, just a minute. In Gita, we come across a wonderful shloka where it says, Indriyanami Shartam Yad Manono Vidhiyate. If you let your senses move freely in the world of enjoyment, soon those senses will be ensnared and pulled away from you. And because you are tied to these senses, you also will be pulled towards that. And you will meet your ruin. So, this is what happened with these sages. So, Pani, the dark forces, the forces that run the senses, allegorical. The senses were kidnapped or hijacked, or whatever term you want. And then they performed yajna. Now, yajna plays a very important role in such cases. When you feel that, personally, if you feel that you are becoming worldly, if you feel that you are not staying as spiritual as you should be, perform ritualistic worship. Nowadays, it has become extremely popular to become a Vedantin and to criticize every ritual. No, rituals play an extremely important role in making you spiritual because rituals are concretized spirituality. Rituals are spirituality in action. People don't realize it because they don't understand spirituality. And the teachers who are teaching them, they're teaching their own ideas. They're not teaching what Sri Ramakrishna taught. They are not teaching what Swami Vivekananda taught. They are not teaching what Shankaracharya taught. They all taught the same thing. Rituals are extremely important. And whenever you feel that you are not continuing to be as spiritual as you should be, immediately you should get down to performing yajna. And in the Vedic times, yajnas were pretty elaborate. Now we don't do it. Just worship, the worship of your chosen ideal, your deity. If you do it for a month or 2 months or 3 months, you will see that things are coming back. Or you get into intense spiritual practices, jap dhyan, go to some secluded spot, go to some isolated place, move away from your near and dear ones, move away from all kinds of attachments, and you will see that you have started growing up again. So this is the story. The story indicates that including Angirasa, who was such a great sage, and to think that Angirasa's mind went astray, it's so funny. So Divodas, who became a king, and Angirasa, who became a spiritual person, they all became so by the blessings of Mother Saraswati, which implies that if you want worldly riches and if you want spiritual growth, in both the cases, Mother Saraswati will be helpful. Now, you might wonder that since there is Supreme God in the form of, say, Vishnu or in the form of Sri Ramakrishna, why worship Saraswati? Well, as far as Lord Vishnu is concerned, I cannot tell you anything. But as far as Sri Ramakrishna is considered, I can tell you, as we started in the beginning, that Sri Ramakrishna himself tells that when one ray of Mother Goddess touches you, Mother Goddess, I mean Saraswati, your intellect brightens. Gayatri Mantra is all about that. Swami Vivekananda himself prayed to Mother Saraswati. And Mother Sarada Devi, who came with Sri Ramakrishna to accompany him in uplifting India from India and the world into spiritual reality. Sri Ramakrishna says, she is Saraswati. So the worship of Saraswati is very important. And don't get confused by how many gods you should be worshipping. Worship as many gods you want till you become spiritually elevated. Iyam shushmebhi bisakha iv arujut sanugirinam tavishevi urmibhi paravat adnim avase suvriktibhi saraswatim avivasema dhitibhi. So the mantras are written in the chat. If you want, you can check on the internet, or you can have this book. With her mighty waves, she breaks down the precipices of the mountains like a digger breaking mud for the lotus stalks. We pray for our protection with prayers and rites to Saraswati, the breaker of both her banks. So imagine those of you who have been to the Himalayas, any part of the Himalayas, and you might have seen, say, for example, those of you who have been to Uttarkashi and say Gangotri, you know, when Ganga flows down from the Himalayas, it seems as if it will be breaking its banks. And I was born on the banks of Ganga, and I've seen in my area how during monsoons Ganga would break the banks, and there would be massive erosion. And we were kids, and we used to see how banks would be swallowed up by the river, and river would change its course. We sing. So Saraswati is being compared to that. It says down the precipices of the mountains, breaker of both her banks. Such beautiful poetic description. However, inner meaning is something more. It's when the goddess of knowledge flows through you, the banks of ignorance that is there inside you, they get broken. When the stream of knowledge flows through you, the banks get swam, they get broken. And your entire personality gets filled up with knowledge. And that's what happens with most of the scientists and most of the great artists, most of the great singers. Those of you who might have heard great singers perform directly from the stage in a face-to-face live, might have seen how free they are with singing. You might have seen some of the paintings of the greats. You'd feel that creativity, which is actually knowledge. Creativity is just a small aspect of knowledge, seems to break the banks. And that's what Saraswati does. That's what Saraswati does. The idea is that the flow of knowledge becomes unimpeded. It just flows. Nothing can stop it. No obstacle, no banks, nothing. Saraswati Devanido ni barhya prajam vishwasya vri sayasya mainaha utakshitibhya avani avinda vishmebhyo ashravo vajini vati. Says, destroy, O Mother Saraswati, the revilers of the gods. Now, this is very interesting because in the Veda itself, you find that even in that period, there were people who reviled the gods. So it's not only the communists and liberals and the anti Hindu forces and those who oppose Hinduism in every aspect in India, outside India, who revile our gods. It has been continuing since the time of the Vedas. It says, destroy them, oh Mother Saraswati, destroy them. How do you destroy them? Not by killing them. No, Saraswati would never kill. Your power will become so huge that their oppositions will be swamped. The offspring of the universal deluder, Brisaya. Brisaya is the evilest force who is considered to be universal deluder. Their offsprings became kind of demons, etc. We'll discuss that. Giver of sustenance, O Mother, you have acquired for men the lands and have showered water upon them. So, on the one hand, there is a discussion of gods, and then there is water and land, etc. That's how you find that Saraswati's worship is being worshipped in both ways. Sorry. Goddess of knowledge and Saraswati, the river goddess. Now, there is a story about there was one Twasta. His one name was Brishaya, and he wanted to have a son who destroyed Indra. He was angry with Indra for some reason. Indra was the chief of the gods. So, he performed a yajna. But during yajna, it was going to be extremely dangerous because Indra has his own qualities. Ultimately, he's the upholder of the good. So, Mother Saraswati was requested and she twisted his tongue. And during pronunciation, Indra Shatror Vadhaswa, it was to be Vardhaswa. It became Vadhaswa. Pronunciation became slightly wrong. That's why they say that when you recite the Vedas, your pronunciation has to be perfect. So instead of may the enemy of Indra grow, The meaning became, may the enemy of Indra be destroyed. And that's how a Vritrasur was born, but he was destroyed. So there is a reference to that. Later on, we find in the Puranas these stories, they were made extremely dramatic. So it's Saraswati, it's Mother Saraswati that makes or that made the gods succeed against these enemies of their enemies, against their enemies. The traditional enemies of the gods are the Asuras and the Daityas. They were vanquished by little help from Mother Saraswati. Now, why Mother Saraswati was partial towards these gods? Because they prayed. And why they prayed? This is very surprising because Twasta himself is praying. Twasta is also praying. However, in the larger interest of the humanity, in the larger interest of the whole universe, Mother Saraswati helps the gods. And that's why we say that in the ultimate analysis is the goodness that prevails. It may or may not be true, but that's what happens. As you can see, that is a liberal use of metaphor in this. Prano Devi Saraswati Vajevi Vajini Vati Dhinam Avitri Avatu. This is mantra number 4. And if you want, you can memorize this mantra from the Ved. And this is a very powerful mantra, extremely powerful mantra. And you can ask people who have a bit restricted intellect to recite this, because this mantra comes straight from the Ved and is a very powerful mantra, an extremely favorite of mine. Prano Devi, and it's very simple to recite. Prano Devi Saraswati Vajevi Vajini Vati Dhinam Avitri Avatu. So you can note down this mantra and write on your social media posts. It's a wonderful mantra. It says, may Goddess Saraswati, rich in power, give us vigor. Mother is rich in power. May she give vigor and protect us by enriching our intellect. Unlike the God of Abrahamic religions, who seem to be pretty bloodthirsty. Of course, God of Jesus Christ doesn't appear like that, although Christians have tried to portray their God differently. But Mother Goddess, every time I use Mother Goddess, it means Saraswati. What she does is, she protects us. How? By enriching our intellect. And it is so similar to Gayatri Mantra. Gayatri Mantra is just like this. Enrich your intellect and you will be protected from everything. All your wants will be fulfilled. The problem today is that people are not focusing on enriching their intellect. They are interested in degrees. No one is interested in knowledge. People want money. They don't know what they will do with money. People are not interested in Vidya, the primary thing. Dedicate yourself to knowledge, and to have knowledge and to retain it, you need a very powerful intellect. And for that, you need the blessings of Mother Saraswati. You need the grace of Mother Saraswati. Recite it. If you can't recite much, recite 3 times daily. I mean, same mantra, 3 into 3, morning, afternoon, evening, and see how your intellect grows. And have a very strong desire, to have a rich intellect, because most people don't even care about it. They think that through cheating, through this and that, through underhand means they can be successful. If you become successful by underhand means, your success will also go away by underhand means. But if you have a rich intellect, Nobody can. Absolutely no one can overpower you. And that's how Indian civilization, that's how the Brahmins saved India from the utter ruin of the attack by the savages. If India survives today in spite of attacks for thousands of years, it's simply because there was blessings of Mother Saraswati in the form of knowledge and heritage that the Indians carried on their heads. It was not the duty only of the Brahmins. Everyone, starting from Brahmins down to the Shudras, the lowest person, they had fundamental knowledge of what spirituality stands for. They couldn't be swayed. And what is the character of Mother Saraswati? She is full of vigor. Vajinivati. This is such a wonderful Vaj. Vaj actually means, Vaj term is used variously. It might mean grains, it might mean wealth, it also means vigor. So, Mother Saraswati, she is Vajinivati. She can give you wealth, she can give you vigor. But ultimately, it's about an extremely rich intellect. Once you have rich intellect, you can attain anything. You can understand any subject. You can master any subject, and you can be the master of the universe. Yasva Devi Saraswati Upabrute Dhane Hite Indram Na Vritra Turye. It's a very simple thing. Devi Saraswati, be gracious unto those who pray to you the way you protected Indra in the battle. It's Vritra Turye. Actually, it means conquest of enemies. It's about fight between Indra and Vritrasur. Says, "O mother, those who pray to you, be gracious unto you. The way you made Indra successful, in the same way you make the every devotee of yours successful." The next mantras are simpler. Tvam Devi Saraswati Ava Vajesu Vajini. See, Vajini term comes repeatedly. Radha Pusheva Na Sanim. Goddess Saraswati, strong in wealth and power. Bless us as Pushan does. Pushan is a god of the Vedic times. Sometimes is equated with God's son. But Pushan actually means one who nourishes the whole world. And you'll find that so many gods and goddesses have been given this quality, this adjective of nourishing the whole world. Saraswati herself is there. Then Sun is there, Pushan is there, Usha is there. So many gods and goddesses, because ultimately it's the nourishment that we get. Even Mahamrityunjaya mantra, where it's Urvarukamiva Bandhanat Mrityor Mukshya Mahamritan. It's about nourishment. So, says, bless us. Here, it may be for the devotees, it may be for the person who is praying. It's a general mantra. But if you can memorize mantra number 4, which we mentioned, this Prano Devi Saraswati Vajivi, it's a beautiful mantra. Such a befitting tribute to your learning of the Vedas if you can memorize this mantra, practice it thrice daily by chanting it 3 times each. Uta Syana Saraswati Ghora Hiranyavartanihi Britragni Vasti Sustutim. May the powerful Saraswati riding in a golden chariot, the destroyer of enemies, be pleased by our prayers. Here, Saraswati is described as riding in a golden chariot. Now, that is something that's used for many other gods in the Vedic period. And she is the destroyer of enemies. By enemies, we mean ignorance. She's not a fighter. She's not a goddess who has bow and arrows, etc. She's not like Mother Kali or Mother Durga. She's the goddess of light. She destroys darkness. She's the goddess of knowledge. She destroys ignorance. Here, the term is Ghora. Interestingly, the expression Ghora is also used for Mother Kali. And it sounds as if Ghor means cruel, powerful. Actually, it means powerful. Mother Saraswati, Goddess Saraswati, is being addressed as being powerful. And Vritragni. We have grown up on a liberal dose of Puranic stories, and the battle between Indra and Vritrasura and their consequences are so popular that we have forgotten that Vritra in general means enemies, particularly enemies that lurk within our minds. Because these stories of Indra and Vritra, all these things have spiritual significance. Here it means the enemies that lurk within our minds. Saraswati destroys them. What kind of enemies? Every kind of. Because ignorance gives birth to every kind of folly that we have. The lust within us, the anger within us, the greed within us. All these things are product of ignorance. Once Mother Saraswati blesses you, you are out of all those things. You become blessed. You become great. That's the seventh mantra. Eighth is Yasya ananto annutaha aruta tvesha charishnu arnavaha amah charati roruvat sano vishwa ati dusa swashriranya ritavari atan ah iva suryaha. May she, whose unbounded water, swift moving with a rapid rush, comes onward with tempestuous roar. You can see, you can feel the river flowing, overcome all our adversaries and bring to us her laden sisters, that is Ganga and other rivers, as the ever rolling sun overcomes the days. Here, Saraswati is being addressed as the river who is fast flowing, and Saraswati is taking a person nearer to other rivers. Like there's a very popular saying in the northern India, Ganga, Jamuna, Saraswati. So it was believed that Saraswati brings you nearer to Ganga and Jamuna near Prayag today. But we don't know because they say that Saraswati has gone underground, etc. So we don't know. But why? Not for taking a dip in Ganga, but because it takes you away from the adversaries. So it might mean some kind of exodus, some kind of movement. And it might also mean that the worshippers of Saraswati, they are kind of traveling by the river to meet the greater rivers, Ganga and Jamuna. That is spiritual wisdom. And moving away from their adversaries, that is ignorance. Not only ignorance, the impurities of the soul. So it has a double meaning. However, it has been put beautifully because generally in the Vedas, the prayers have direct meaning. They don't have this this hidden meanings are lacking. There are some, and I'll see if we have time, which is not in Veda Vihangam, that conversation between yam and yummy, and how the Western scholars have twisted the meaning, yam and yummy, that twins where yummy wants to be with yama in a wrong sense. But actually, the interpretation is that yama represents dharma, yummy represents adharma. Whenever there is creation, they are both born together. And dharma says that you cannot be with me. You cannot be, etc. So, that is one of those esoteric hymns. Esoteric hymns are not many in the Vedas, but those that are there can confuse an ordinary mind. And that's how our Western scholars were confused. Then there is Uta anna priya priyasu sapta swasa sujusta Saraswati stomya bhoot. This is mantra number 10. It says, May Saraswati, who has 7 sisters, who is dearest of dear and has been well adored, be ever adorable. The important expression is 7 sisters. Sapta swasa. Now, 7 is a very important number in Indian traditions. In Purusuktam also this number comes, and Saptaswasa means 7 sisters, which may mean 7 rivers of Saraswati, 7 sister rivers of Saraswati. Says Ganga, Yamuna, Godavari, Saraswati, Narmada, Sindhu, Kaveri. In fact, this is one Gange cha Jamune chaiva Godavari, Saraswati, Narmade, Sindhu, Kaveri, Sannidhi Miha, something. So it might be 7 rivers. They are considered to be extremely sacred. And according to the commentators, it means 7 meters. 7 meters of the Veda, the popular ones: Gāyatrī, Ushnik, Anustup, Brihati, Pankti, Trishtup, Jagati. These are the 7 mantras that are there in the Vedas. And they are like 7 sisters of knowledge. Because the Veda are ultimate of knowledge, and they are expressed, the knowledge is expressed in these 7 meters, and hence this expression. The May Saraswati, who has 7 sisters, knowledge has 7 sisters in the form of 7 meters, and who is dearest of dear, because knowledge is ultimately dearest of dear and has been well adored, be ever adorable. Saraswati stomya bhoot. May she remain ever adorable. That means, may my mind not move over to something else adorable, that is riches, etc. Apaprusi parthivani uru rajo antariksham Saraswati nida patu. May Saraswati, who fills with radiance the expanse of earth and heaven, defend us from deriders. Saraswati nida patu. This is such a wonderful expression. Saraswati, she fills with radiance the expanse of earth and heaven. No, that's not possible for a river. That can happen only with knowledge. The sage is here praying, Oh Saraswati, save us from deriders. Now, this problem of the scholarly being ridiculed and derided by the ignorant, by the jealous, was always there. In case you feel that you have a problem at your workplace, and I request some of you to take this mantra, Saraswati Nidah Patu, simply this much. Saraswati Nidah Patu. And if you want, you can take the whole thing, but pronouncing it would be difficult. You can take half the mantra, that is one part of the mantra, and chant it. If you have problem at your workplace, if you have problem at anything related to knowledge, if you have people around you who ridicule you, if there are people who deride you, chant this mantra. Defend us from the deriders. How? Saraswati will give you the brilliance. And with that brilliance, you will overpower them. In most cases, I pretty often come across people who come and complain about workplace ethos, etc. In every case, I find that those who are complaining, they lack brilliance. Because it's impossible to deride a brilliant person. It's only the mediocre ones who get derided, who get backstabbed. If you are truly brilliant, no one can touch you. Believe me, I am telling you this from my personal experience. They may try to backstab you, they may try to ridicule you, but these snakes in the grass, they will never succeed, because You have the hands of Mother Saraswati on you in blessing. You have brilliance. Three sadhasta saptadhatu panchajata vardhayanti vaje vaje havya bhut. Abiding in the three worlds, Saraswati is in the three worlds, Bhurbhuva Swaha, that is the physical, the causal, and the subtle, all the three, comprising seven elements. It's through seven elements that these three worlds are composed. And five types of beings. She is worthy of our prayers for vigor. It says, abiding in three worlds, as I said, physical world, the subtle world, and the causal world. Sthul Jagat, Sukshma Jagat, Karan Jagat. And then you have seven elements. Seven elements, these are known as rasa. Rasa is the fluid that circulates through us. And then rakta, that is blood. Mangsa, that is muscles. Meda, meda is fat. Meda, sorry, not meda, meda. Asthi, asthi is bone. And then we have majja, bone marrow. And shukra, shukra is reproductive fluid. These seven are common to all. And then you have panchajata, five types of beings. Five types of beings that are accepted by the Veda are known as Dev, the gods. Then you have Gandharva. Then you have Naga. Nag is a class of beings, not the snakes. Pitri. And finally you have Nara. These five. These are known as Panchajana. Panchajana is a very popular expression. So Panchajana, Saptadhatu, three lok. These three sets make the universe. Saraswati nourishes all of them. Saraswati nourishes Panchajana in the three loka and the seven elements. How? By nourishing the seven elements. If one of these elements become weak, you become weak. Pra ya mahimna mahinasu chekite bhi anya apasama apastama ratha iva brihati bhvane krita upastutya chiki tusa saraswati. She who is distinguished in glory, that is goddess, among the glorious. Among the glorious, goddess Saraswati, she is distinguished in glory. She who is the fastest among the fast, because knowledge is faster than even the thoughts, even the mind. She who has been created to go everywhere as a chariot. Knowledge goes everywhere. You cannot think of anywhere in this universe where knowledge is not there. She, Saraswati, is to be glorified by the wise. If you want to be wise, if you want your society to be of wise, and if you want your country to be of the wise, worship Saraswati. Saraswati, can be used as a river here, but clearly the goddess. She is distinguished in glory among the glorious, fastest among the fast, has been created to go everywhere as a chariot. Saraswati is to be glorified by the wise. Those who are wise, they need to glorify Saraswati. The last one, 14. Saraswati abhi no neshi vasyo ma apasfari paisa ma na adhak jusaswana sakya veshya cha ma tvat kshetrani arnani ganma. Lead us, Saraswati, lead us. Where? To glory. Refuse us not your grace. Oh, Saraswati, refuse us not your grace. Overwhelm us not with flooding. Accept our prayers, be at our habitations, and make us not go away from you. So, again, this mantra sounds like a river where you say that, well, don't flood our areas and we be there so that we can get our water. But It's, O goddess, goddess of knowledge, be there in the form of knowledge and save us from flood of evil thoughts and deeds. Because knowledge rarely floods us. It's our evil intentions, evil desires that flood us. The idea is that may we move towards spirituality by giving up the evil deeds, and only Saraswati can help us in that. So that's about Saraswati Sukta, prayer to Saraswati. Next we will take up prayer to Indra. That's again a very beautiful Sukta, Indra Sukta. That this way we are giving you some idea about what the four Vedas contain. Most of these suktas are from the Rig Veda, but prayers that we have been covering, they are from the four Vedas. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ram Krishna.